Stopped by A1 Trading today and managed to pick up this really cool little gem. This just got traded in when I got there, and I got it for 15 bucks. I love the Tales of Symphonia series, and I was like, holy crap. And I checked out the disc inside. Book's a little worn out and everything, and it looks like it's been through some rougher days, but it's got a good home with me now. I'm definitely keeping it. The good thing is the disc looks really clean. Here's an update on the cat that my neighbors had abandoned, Munchie. He's doing pretty good. He's gotten into a few little scrapes, and just trying to take care of him. Still doing healthy and strong. Yes, I know, buddy. Want to look up here, Munch? Hey, Munchie. Maybe show everybody your face? No? Just your rear end? Fantastic. Oh, there you are. There's beautiful boy. Even though I know Munchie can take care of himself, I'm still always going to worry. I worry about all the stray cats in my neighborhood. I can't help it. I just can't help it. So, as you saw earlier, when I stopped by that store, it's called A1 Gaming here in Independence, and I always like having an opportunity to support anyone that has a small business and stuff. So this game is called Tales of Symphonia, is what I picked up. And I got to checking it. I looked at it when I was in there, and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here. The book, it's a thick boy, you know, and I'm really pretty pleased with it. For the most part, it's in decent shape. It's got some creasing and some stuff on there. Otherwise, not too bad. It's definitely like, I think it's something where the front got jammed in there because the back's in pretty good condition. The rest of it's in really good condition. It's got some nice full color stuff in there. It's nice and refreshing to see this sort of thing happen with games, and I'm glad that that's in there. And I took a look at the disc, and the disc looks like it's in really good condition on there, so no problem. No broken tab on the holder on the inside, so that's nice. I didn't even realize this is the 10th anniversary of this, like it says there. So this is really interesting. I played the original, the game that came before this. I guess this is a 4-player game, from what I can tell here. Didn't go for a whole bunch. I picked it up for like 15 bucks, and I think it may go for 20, 15, whatever. I don't care. It's another role-playing game that I eventually would like to get to. My plan is eventually to get back to playing games, which I have. If you look at the other playlists here on this channel, you'll see that the late night screen is my playlist for all the games I've been playing. And I finished Limbo. There's a couple of other games that I played on there. I'm right in the middle of playing Love is Dead, which is a hoot. I did a little bit of recording on a segment earlier, and I got to finish it up because it got messed up, and I was like, oh God, I'm kind of dreading going back and looking at the capture because I think I messed up something whenever I was recording it. Also, I found that the game has some bugs in it, or it's my system. I'm not sure which one. I don't believe it's my system because everything else seems to be running. OBS keeps on recording, but the game does something really weird, and I think I messed up the recording without realizing what I was doing. Nonetheless, you know, that's something more I want to expand to. And I think I talked about this already, but there is a plugin that's going to make it a little bit easier for me to stream eventually when I get to that. My hope is either mid-February or March, but there's a couple of projects I'm trying to get out of the way before I really jump into diving deep into OBS. I have a Stream Deck I've never used, and I need to get that set up because I'd really like to be able to have the shortcuts and feel a little bit more at home with what I'm doing and kind of practice using it on pre-recorded aspects that I'm still uploading to YouTube. Even after I do Twitch, I'm still going to upload because I don't plan on gaming for hours, maybe an hour, maybe 2, and then uploading that stream to YouTube as well too. So I am really excited though about another thing I found today, which was this pack of Azure. Yeah, Azure, not du jour, Azure markers. And this is 12 color markers, alcohol based markers with 1 color blender. So the reason I was so fascinated with this is because this is the Royal Langnickel. I think I have 1 or 2 of these. If not, I have a similar form factor to it. Because I was looking at the top, and I'm not sure. There's a lot of them. You either get the triangular ones or the square ones or the oval ones or whatever. But this is the latest edition I have for, and I had another one too. Like, this is crazy. I picked these up, and I don't know if they're still good or not. This is from, it's just literally 18 count illustration for 18 markers for $5. I got this at Five Below, and there isn't any other real information about this. I don't know if this is supposed to be a brand. I don't know what it just says. Drawing challenge, create a landscape that includes a sunrise or sunset, included colors, and it's got a bunch of swatches on the back. There is no website. There is nothing. They literally say illustration markers on them. Nothing more. They look like other Copic knockoffs. So the idea was that I was going to take a bunch of them and show them against each other. Nothing new, but something I'd always wanted to do because people have asked me. And I wanted to do a whole deep dive. It's going to be a longer video reviewing markers. I wanted to do a whole deep dive into how these markers work, what's interchangeable, are they replaceable, can you upgrade them, can you do different things with them, you know, how do they store, all these other things, as well as, you know, what are the color proximities, you know, are they similar, do they blend the same, do they blend, do they work together, and how do they work in general on different substrates, and if there's anything on there. Like I can tell you there are some, like if you buy the really cheap ones, and I don't know if that's going to be the case with these from Five Below, I have some that after 5 or 6 physical uses, just swiping them, the bristles and the brush tips and the felt ends were just falling apart on themselves. They were super garbage. And I don't know if they're refillable. I still have to figure that out. So that's at least something I'm looking forward to. But I also did release here recently on one of the other playlists, in the art playlist of mine, which I haven't updated in a while. Shame. I uploaded a really hodgepodge thing. I really should have tried to have salvaged the editing somewhat. It's about 20 minutes long, but it's a video that covers what I did with ICWXP's character, TopsyBot 5000. He was the subject of a custom toy I made. And when I say I made, I customized toys from a guy named Squid Kid Inks. And he makes these wonderful figurines that are based on like Nintendo cartridges, and they're kind of bent in a way, and they have hands and feet. And I had a gloriously insane hard drive crash some time back, and now I've got a wonderful backup system on here. But at that point, like, I lost a lot of stuff, and if I didn't lose it, there were files that got damaged beyond belief. Almost all the audio was wrecked in some form or another on the majority of the footage that you see. I have some that I salvaged, but it was either, you know, from clips that I had sent for approval. So there was stuff on there I'm like, okay, that's not entertaining. It has nothing to do with what I was doing. So I just did a new voiceover on it and recorded and basically threw some clips together to show people what it was like to put these things together. Because the idea was, I had approached Rick Wolf, who is the main host and owner of Agony Wolf Media, and he runs 3 different shows really right now. But at that time, he was doing ICW XP, which is Incognito Cinema Warriors XP. And I had come to him and asked, you know, is there something I could do? And I think I was the one that approached him. I feel like I've covered this previously. And so I managed to get this video put together. And I'm really pretty proud of what I did manage to put together, and it came together and stuff. So if you'd like, you can check that out. It just kind of shows what I did to make these figurines come together and the trials and tribulations I had. And boy, did I had some. Paint fought me, everything else like that. There's so many things because I knew what I was doing, but at the exact same time, because I was rushing myself and I was trying to shoot for perfection and I wanted certain things to work and they didn't, it just did not work. And that, coupled with the weather, the humidity, and then heat, and then it was just a mess. Fortunately, the majority of them came out really nice, and I really liked what I had and what was going on. And it was something where I learned a lot from it, and I was really grateful for the opportunity. It's led to some other stuff down the road, and I was very happy about that. So that was something else there. So the whole thing has been that I've really been trying to grow my channel. So eventually art reviews of some kind were going to be on there, as well as, you know, getting, I don't know, art videos on there. And it was nice to get that one on there because I was like, well, here's this one. Because originally I had filmed some stuff back then that I was going to make a little mini documentary about what I was doing for Incognito Cinema Warriors XP and everything. But enough time went by. I mean, that was 5 years ago now. It was like 2018 or something. My mind is blanking a little bit on that, but I believe it was about that long ago. Because definitely pre-COVID. And there have been other projects since then. Well, after that, it got me thinking about some of the other stuff that I've done and how I would like to present that as far as other things on this channel that I would like to get accomplished. And all that came around full circle to like, okay, well, that's cool, but how is this playing into other things? And one of the hardest realities I had to deal with just thinking about that today, thankfully, on a side note, I had an opportunity to be around family and friends today, and that was a really wonderful thing. But even in the midst of that, and while I was so happy to have that moment, because for the most part, I've been just keeping to myself and just telling the world to generally fuck off, because I don't want to take anyone else down with my own depression right now, or any of this malaise that I've been going through. But this evening was a really good, exception to the rule. And it kind of got me in a thinking point where I was like, if I can take pride in the things I'm doing, I don't have to compare myself to others. I don't have to be consistently looking over my shoulder to see, oh, is anyone else, like doing something different than me that's better or whatever. Everybody's journey is going to be different. And I wanted my channel to be a collective of what I as an artist see and what my own personal experiences are. That doesn't mean I'm going to sit there and review movies. It doesn't mean anything like that. It does mean that I might review books like I had. I started a series on there that was covering reviewing books. The first one was The Toys That Time Forgot, but I have a slew of books I really want to show off. I really want to have an excuse to start flipping through again and looking and reading and all these other things. So I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot of shelves filled with that stuff. I have a lot of shelves filled with games I want to play through. And eventually I'll get that capture card and I'll get the systems hooked up and I'll start playing through those things. But I have a whole shitload of stuff on Steam that I'm going to play, and I have been playing. The current one I am playing right now that I'm really enjoying is Love is Dead, and it's a great puzzler. You basically are maneuvering two zombos around a grid system within cities and countrysides and stuff, and it has a weird feeling of being kind of tactical, but at the same time absurdly simple. And the graphics they belie a deeper infrastructure of thinking through things, and the mechanics are just wild, and they're really entertaining, and there's a lot of little bits of discovery that I go, oh, I didn't know that, and it's been a really enjoyable playthrough. I think I'm only like 18% of the way through the game, so the goal now is to start doing what I hadn't done before. I used to buy games all the time and play like 30 minutes and then do nothing more with it. I have probably 9 or 10 games on my latest system, which is a Switch, that I haven't done anything with. And don't come at me. I have the Switch Lite. It was a gift, and I love it. So I didn't feel I needed the bigger one because I didn't think back then, oh, I'm not going to get it on a capture card. Why would I do that? Well, now I kind of regret that. But nonetheless, the point is that this is a circumstance where I got to thinking about how I wanted to be able to expand what I'm doing and maybe try and build my brand more off of that. The most frustrating thing that has been happening to me, and I have no idea why. I would love it if people were just honest with me on this sort of thing. So I'm going to do a real quick deep dive into this. It's not a bitching and complaining session. It's just an observation. And if you know me and you understand this, I would love that. You don't have to comment on this. You can message me or something. In fact, I almost kind of prefer you to, as opposed to going, well, motherfucker, this is what's wrong with you. Just leaving a big ass fucking comment out there like, first of all, you jackass. I'm terrified of that. I'd accept it, but I'm just terrified of that. I'm like, great, that's the first comment in this thing. Oh, what does it say? You're a jackass. Great. Okay. Why am I a jackass? I sincerely cannot figure this out. So I create a lot of content, a lot, more than I have. And it's only going to get more so as this year wanes on. Without even doing that many shows. I would say there's probably 5 shows now on the docket. 2 that I'm hoping to be participating in. 3 that I am simply attending. And I'm going to go and Maybe drop a little bit of cash ad, maybe just see, I don't know. It depends on weather, it depends on a lot of things like that. I plan on trying to, review and take care of those things all along the way. And as I'm doing that, I'm also trying to figure out a plan for how I am getting my blog and all these other aspects of my overall media output updated and refined into something that I can manage while I'm still working on my stuff. It's been touch and go, and it has been unique. But here's the question I have. Does anyone out there experience having an Etsy site with any number of items on there? I have about 80 on there. Now, it's been a while since I've updated them just because I've been so far behind on things, but I really do need to get new work up there. On a weekly average, okay, I've seen the stats. I don't know if I believe them, but I've seen the stats. And I've seen the favorites. I follow the profiles. I'm like, you favorited it. Why aren't you buying it? I think in an average week, it's slowed down. Every single time I do a show, I get 5 or 6 people that will favorite items per day. Bing, 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 bing. That's not a lot, but I'm happy for that because I'm not really pushing it. Where it's coming from is different things. I have links everywhere. I have links on my main website. I have links down below. I have links on my TikTok. I have links on all kinds of things going this way, that way, and everywhere in between. I have the attention coming to my website. I've reformatted listings. I've upped the designs. I've added video to some, different things like that, just to get the eyes on there. With the exception of some sales early last year, nothing. I'm hemorrhaging money with the listings. I've officially outpaced the earnings I did make, which is depressing, but still, nonetheless, a reality. When I do shows, I get a much better return when I do shows because I'm there, I can talk to people, and depending on the circumstance, I mean, yes, C2E2 was fucking horrible. I can normally sell pretty well if the crowd is into it and listening and I'm telling stories and yada, yada, yada. But there is a very disarming circumstance. Part of it I know is my own problem, where because I have a lack of belief in what I make and I don't really think I'm as professional as other peers of mine or other people I know, or that I make anything that is even remotely compelling, it becomes a point of contention and frustration for me because I feel like, well, if people know what I do, great, then, they should be wanting to know and buy more. But I'm often reminded that some people only know this much about me when it comes to my overall professional career. Because I don't like to talk about myself, which is fucking ironic considering what I'm doing here, right? But even these videos have low views. And when I do share them, it's not like they're getting the biggest amount of engagement. It's not like people want to sit here and watch me ramble off about shit all the time. I'd like to think I'm that charismatic and entertaining, but I sure as fuck am not. The crazy part is that when I go through this sort of thing, I have had people to this day, people I've known for years, that will come up and go, "So you draw?" There is nothing that kills me more than that. I'm talking like, "Oh, fucker, why?" Just like horrible shit like that. And then there's also all these other aspects to it. Like I'll have people go, "Oh, well, we'd really like you to come out and do so-and-so, do this sort of thing like where you, because you still do spoken word, right?" I'm like, what, yeah, I mean, I will, I can, I could. But don't you have anything that involves, visual art stuff or anything? Well, do you do stuff with that? These are people that have professed to follow my pages or watched my videos or been on my website and have no idea that I'm a voice actor and a poet, that my main thing that, for fuck's sake, I've won awards doing is graphic design or illustration. They hear me maybe talk about things like, "Oh, I've done these shows, I've done this." And I understand that, the main directive is that people are busy and we all have our lives, and I'm not supposed to remember everything about everybody. But I'll be damned if whenever I see people's updates, I really do read them, and I do try and keep up on people's social media. And if I talk to people, I'm listening. I'm not just hearing, I'm listening, because I want to know what they're going through. I want to understand what they have available. And I eventually, I'm dying if I'm lying. Every single show this last year I went to, I made sure I picked up something from just about everybody. If money allowed it, I was picking up independent publications. I was doing what I could. And I wasn't going for the fan art bullshit. I was going for whatever I could find that was original and new and uniquely their own, because it was important for me on that. And I feel like a lot of times I'm not always allowing myself to gain or garner that sort of reciprocation, because as much as I open up like this, I don't seem to talk about my art as much as I should. I don't seem to talk about my stories as much as I should. But I'm in a conundrum. You see, I can show you a page. And I'll show you a page right here. Okay? Just going to pull up a random page here as I knock all the rest of the shit off my desk. Okay? There's a page right there. Boom. Now, if I show you too much more, the novelty and the originality of that story may go away. I'm not worried about somebody fucking copying me. I'll worry about AI doing that shit. I'm more worried that something that is near and dear to me that I want people to encounter for the first time as a whole, as a finished thing, will suffer if I start sharing too much of it. So I've gone back and forth about that. But then I also have to understand that I have a certain amount of time in my life that I can devote to this, to meet deadlines for printing and that sort of thing, as well as also trying to find enough time to do art that can populate, you know, stuff akin to what like that video was about making the Topsy-Bot figurine. So I'm doing something wrong. I just don't know what it is. And it has been a real mental struggle to figure out what it is. And it's crazy too, because there are times when I think nobody reads my blog, my normal everyday blog that I usually write at least once a month in, or during show season, I'm like overwhelming myself with. There are times when I wish I had a recorder. Could you speak into the microphone, please? No, seriously, fuck on the microphone. Because there are times whenever I hear people to my face tell me, I love your blog, man. Like the pictures make me feel like I'm at the show. Or I'm so glad you said this about the show because I thought the same thing too. I just don't want to get blacklisted. Or no, I don't totally agree with what you said on there, but I can understand that you had a different experience than I did. I don't get comments like that on my blog. I don't even block comments. No, I do. I do control the blog comments on there because I had some people posting a bunch of dumb shit, like weird spammy things. So I was like, no, screw that. I'll check them every once in a while. But the craziest part for me has been that for at least a couple of years now, I have wondered, why does it take me specifically being in a show and being in the presence of people and having probably, I'm not joking. Again, you know how I'm OCD about keeping track of things. I have written down that the biggest sales I've had have always been at the end of a 30 to 45 minute conversation with somebody who then takes the time to invest into it. What it makes me feel like, and I'm not giving any real credence to this, but I'm simply looking at the data manifested. I am worried that I'm a terrible artist. This is a fucking real thing I'm going to tell you. There are days when my mental aspect must be really unhinged because I know I'm a good artist. I know I'm pretty good. I know I can do things, right? I don't feel exorbitantly talented or unique or anything, and I'm not fishing for compliments. Please understand that's not the case. I'm simply saying I don't think I'm anything necessarily outstanding, and I'm fine with that. What I'm saying is I don't understand how when I'm at a show I often will have a conversation with somebody and only after that do they really take into consideration what I have on the table and then maybe want to make a purchase of something or go, oh, I want to get this. And that's happened times innumerable. No, not times innumerable, because the last time I checked, in the last 3 years, I've had 100 and... What was it? I know I have it here. I keep a little book journal on this shit. 159 times. 159 times I have kept... I've gotten sales off of conversations. yeah, I'm kind of psychotic on that stuff. But I have to remind myself, like, well, that I've gotten into a pattern where when I do shows, I'm like, okay, well, until you get some big conversations, you're not going to fucking sell shit. Sometimes I'll get people that come by and they just pick up something and they just want to talk for a little bit and that's it. But for the most part, it's been that. Ergo, it is almost impossible to sell things off my Etsy site because you can't, it's not like I can, their videos are like maybe 5-10 seconds long, no sound, no nothing. They don't want to fuck with copyright, whatever. I can't put my face on there and hold something up and fucking dance on there. That's not going to sell anything. They're going to go, what the fuck is this jackass doing? And then there's other times too, I'm sorry, my ankle's itching like a goddamn bastard. There are other times whenever I think about like when it just any number of different scenarios where if I'm not at a show, if I'm trying to sell online or I'm trying to make videos about my artwork or I'm trying to showcase something, it doesn't necessarily ever drum up interest beyond either likes or searches or checking out my profile. It is the strangest feeling in the world to feel like I'm kind of being punked or something like, oh God, we can't tell him that he looks like he has broken hands that he draws with. You know, like that's his art style. Like, oh, have you heard of Mario Broken Hands Mora? Like I literally feel that sort of thing. Like I I feel like there are times whenever I look at things and I'm like, am I doing okay? Is this gonna work? I kind of wish somebody would come along and say that because this is the exact same feeling I had. And I mean this sincerely. So take it for what it's worth, you know. When I worked jobs, I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. This is going to be maybe 100% fucking real, and I don't really care what happens with this. When I worked at Hallmark, one of the worst things and the reasons why, because people are sometimes, like, I've been accused of this many a times, it's just like, you're really mad at Hallmark. Yeah, fuck yes I am, especially considering I just heard that this week is leading to 2 more weeks of massive fucking layoffs, and that, fuck them. And man, I hope the people that get cut from there, I hope they find fucking phenomenal jobs that involve like burning greeting cards or some shit. But when I worked there, because of the management style and a lot of things that happened, if it weren't for the people that I knew who worked there, who became my friends, who became close to me, I would have nothing redeeming to say about that company because it literally drove me into the ground. Mentally, emotionally, creatively, it wrecked me. And it did enough damage that now it's affecting other aspects of what I do for other people. And it's horrifying me. And because of that, I have to look back at what it's affected in my somewhat separate art style efforts in comics and things. And it makes me question everything I do. I alluded to this in another video about looking back at whenever I was getting my sketchbook back from the Brooklyn Art Library. Boy, I don't know why that was so difficult to say right there. And I watched that old video of myself and I was like, where did this individual go from 10, 13 years ago, whatever it was, who had all this bounce and cadence and audacity in his line work? Where the fuck did this asshole move? And I thought to myself, well, he's still in here, but now he's insecure as fuck and he just doesn't really think things work out. And I take it personally when I go to a show and I don't sell things, not because of the fact that the show may have been shitty or the show had uncontrollable circumstances or just whatever may have happened. I really look at it like, was my booth off? Was it me? Should I have worn hot pink that day? Something, right? Just fuck, what the fuck, man? And it's back to, I will never forget having a conversation. This is some true shit. I kind of took this personally because I'm not wearing a fucking suit for anybody. I don't give a fuck. I won't, like, fuck that. And, you know, if that cost me, that cost me. But I will never forget one time thinking how I had made a comment about having met one of the Halls. I don't know which one it was. One of the old dudes. And I think it was the younger brother. And when I met him, I remember telling my manager at the time, she was one of my managers, one of many I had. And she's kind of horrified. She's like, well, were you in a hoodie when you met him? I was like, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't wear shit. I don't know. Well, this is what I wear. I don't dress up. I don't even have a polo. And she's like, you know, I'm just telling you, you know, if you really want to make it work in this company, you've really got to start, like, thinking about what your overall aesthetic is and not look like, you know, I was like, look like what? And she's like, well, I don't want to offend you. And I was like, no, you can say what you want. And she was like, well, you look disheveled a lot. You look scruffy. And that just fucking hurt. But that also was like, I wasn't smart enough to think, well, I should take this to HR, because it just wasn't going to go anywhere. But I've been in that circumstance before. So it wasn't like I was feeling alienated necessarily. It just kind of hurt to hear it again. And sometimes that's exactly what I think about what happens when I'm trying to make this move forward. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming the public at large. I'm not saying that it's all everyone else's fault, or no one's telling me like, you're actually kind of dumb, or whatever, like, or that whatever you're doing, this isn't working, man. Like, stop. Like, all this here is not working. That's what I'm terrified of. And thankfully in the back of my head, there's a little bit where it's like, okay, you're overreacting. That's really not the case. But man, in my deepest moments of insecurity, I'll be like, no, that's really totally what is fucking happening, and no one's telling me that. It's like the whole, like, you got broccoli stuck in your teeth and you're smiling for photos at a photo op or something like that. Like your work has like, hey, let's have like a party day, and you're like dancing around, and you're thinking you're in your zone, in your element and shit like that. And, nobody told you how you had a spaghetti stain up here on your cheek or some shit. You just go through the whole day like that. That's what it feels like. And I remember a lot of times that I worked even other jobs in other places. A lot of it even came down to, if it wasn't my personal, appearance, it was how I conducted myself or certain things like that. And something I've come to terms with, which is unfortunate, is that 99% of places don't like unfiltered honesty. I don't say things rude on purpose. I don't say things mean, but if there's something I don't agree with, then I say something about it, because I can't live with myself if I don't. It was much to like how angry I was when the Nelson Atkins Museum at one point, this was whenever they had the demonstrations. They called it the riots. It was BLM downtown and all this other stuff. And there were rubber bullets being fired, and they called out riot police. It was insane. And so for the next weekend, they had all these problems, and they rewrote the whole narrative for what the fuck actually happened. And I wasn't happy with that. I was like, well, no. And me and another guy got thrown under the bus. Were names said, were things talked about? No, but my family sure as fuck knew about it. His family knew about it. And they were like, what did you do? Why would you let the cops be there? I was like, we didn't have shit to do with this. It was somebody higher up, but they protect their own, and we were new. So who the fuck they would care about us? When you go through enough things like that, you start to wonder, like, am I fucking crazy? To the point to where, like, I remember at that time taking photos of everything and making sure the date stamp was on there, going, no one's going to believe me, but at least I can look back someday and not lose that, that chip of sanity. Lord knows I've lost enough of those over the years to corporate, bullshit. And I can at least be going, well, I can go to my grave someday and go, I was honest. I told the truth, and I did my job, and that's all that matters. And if these motherfuckers couldn't come clean, well, that's on them. And they'll never face anything, so it doesn't really matter. But all of that sort of thing really gives me reproach in my psychosis about how I look at myself as a creative. Like, after all the things I've gone through in life, and when I don't sell and when I don't do things, I just kind of like, I almost kind of wish somebody would come up to me and go, hey, you know what you got to do? You got to stop doing the stuff you're doing. Go ahead and draw some fan art. Go ahead and do this. Go ahead and do this other thing. I would almost love for somebody to come along, even if it was the most disappointing thing in the world, because at least I'd kind of know what was happening. And I can't be the only person that feels this way, right? I hope I'm not. Actually, I take that back. I kind of hope I am, because I don't want anyone else to feel this way. But I hope I'm not alone in this either, because then I would really feel like maybe it is just me. Maybe I'm thinking too deeply into this. I don't know. I don't really know what I can pull from this, except that if I have that much self-doubt, I worry about how much it's hindering me to move forward. So that's the food for thought for tonight. It's not, and again, I don't want anyone out there that's watching this or anything to think that this is a depressive manic episode or anything else like that. It's not. I'm thinking very clearly. It's just something that I've honestly never been able to put into words. Because the big thing is, and I think any of you that are creative will agree with this, nobody likes to admit that they had a shitty show, or they didn't make money, or they didn't sell this, or something didn't go over, they had an embarrassing moment or whatever. I have long now just decided to fuck that. Like, that, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to be honest about it and open about it. Because if a show sucks, a show sucks. If somebody didn't do what they were supposed to do, they didn't fucking do it. And I'm not going to fucking cover that. But I really kind of want that same sort of residual to somewhat be applied to me. If like my art isn't good, I would almost rather have people tell me like, this is terrible, you know, like, or this just isn't my thing. Okay, well, it's not your thing. Hopefully I'll find other people. It doesn't necessarily stop me, but at least I'd have some gauge for what's going on. I don't know. Wow, that was a really wild one. All right, guys, I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely appreciate it. And for the people that have reached out and stuff, please understand this. None of this has to do with you guys. I appreciate those of you that talk to me, that reach out, that say things. That means the world to me. And it's helped me through a lot of the stuff I'm going through right now, where I can only see a glimmer of who I used to be and where I want to be. And it helps me through the darker times that I go through. And that means there's no words I can even really explain. It genuinely thank you. So I'll catch you guys in the next video. There's Mr. Munchie. I got scratched on the back a little bit. Chasing squirrels like you shouldn't.